What's up, Degens? Welcome back to another edition of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS podcast. This is your Friday, November 15th episode. I believe this is like the 52nd episode, so getting up there. Hopefully we'll have over 100 by the time the season ends. Took the day off yesterday. It was only 5 games. Really weird slate last night. A lot of value was there, and then more opened up, and it was just a high-scoring night. I mean, I had a couple lineups that were in the 290s. I had one over 300, and none of them even sniffed the cash line. So just one of those nights where you either nail all the value and nail all the payups, or you basically get nothing. Nonetheless, it's okay because today we have an 8-game slate, and that's the beautiful thing about daily fantasy sports. It's daily. So guess what? You always usually get another slate the next day. So you just move on and you roll with the punches. You keep plugging away. You don't complain. You don't talk about how bad the slate was. You learn from your processes. You look at your lineups. You see where you went wrong. Okay? So, moving on, right? Okay, new day, new money. Let's go. 8 games today. We had, of course, as usual, we're going to go over the, let's talk. The roster monster was Devin Booker yesterday. He went for 40. It was right at value. He was right around 8K. I expected a lot more from him in that game, of course, against Atlanta. I figured it would have been a huge duel with him and Trae Young. Trae Young obviously did a little bit better, but nonetheless, neither one really did outstanding. Giannis went for close to 80 like we figured. Just one of those slates again. So, as usual, we're going to go over the games, go over the spreads, totals. There's a lot of totals not on this board. Two of them I can already see that are not on the board yet. Not a lot of high totals on this slate, so it's going to be an interesting slate. I've already went through all my research, and I kind of like it. It's got a lot of appeal. Again, the point guard spot's loaded once again. Seems like every slate that we've had over the last 10 days, the point guard position has just been absolutely, bonkers. It's so good. Spurs at the Magic, Orlando minus 3.5 here at home, 212 on the total. San Antonio's running with the 16th ranked pace at the moment, Orlando 27th, so no real, big pace game there. Pistons at the Hornets, Detroit minus 3.5 here on the road, 219 on this total. Detroit is 26th in terms of pace, Charlotte 15th, so a little bit of a pace up spot here for Detroit. Pacers and the Rockets, Houston minus 7.5 here at home. We do not have a total, but this is a massive pace up spot here for Indiana. Houston, of course, is ranked near the top 3 in terms of pace on the season. They are actually ranked 7th in their last 5 games. Most of these that I'm going to say right now are actually the last 5 games. I kind of like to see how the trending goes from full season now that we've got a decent amount of games under our belt. We can kind of see what teams are moving away from it or moving towards it. Yesterday was a massive pace-up spot with the Bulls in the Milwaukee game, and it was just one that I was scared that, the Bulls wouldn't hang around. Of course they did. I guess I need to just stop worrying about the spreads and just, play the games, right? So, let's see here. We had Pacers, Rockets, Wizards at the T-Wolves game I really, really like. Minnesota is minus 6.5 here at home. Washington is ranked 8th in terms of pace the last 5. T-Wolves 10th. So you have a major, nice, really fast-paced game here. A lot of good player options in this one, of course. 76ers at the Thunder. Philadelphia minus 2.5 here on the road. 215 on the total. 76ers are 24th. OKC 19th. So not really, the 76ers, big change there. They were ranked in the top 10 not more than, 5 to 7 days ago. Looks like they've slowed down. They will get Joel Embiid back. That will probably help them space the floor a little bit. So it'll probably go up. But nonetheless, OKC is not really a fast team. So this one's kind of mid-pack. Jazz at the Grizzlies. Here's a pretty good pace jump here with Utah minus 7.5 on the road, 214. Like I said, there's really not a lot of high totals on this board. But, you have Memphis here who's ranked, I think like 5th or 6th on the season in terms of pace, ranked 9th right now in the last 5 games. So they're a pace-up team. They want to run with pace, and Utah is not. On the season, they're ranked close to dead last. But in the last 5 games, they're 17th. So Interestingly enough, they have been running with a little bit of pace lately. So this game I expect to see pop, okay? I know a lot of people probably won't go there because it's the Jazz, but I think this is probably one of my favorite games. I think it's contrarian, and you guys know that I've been jumping all over the Grizzlies games just for that reason. They don't play a whole lot of defense, and like I said, it's a massive pace-up spot. They're going to want to run with pace, and I think they give the Jazz a little bit of a run here. So that's a good one. Celtics at the Warriors. Boston minus 7.5, 226, highest total on the board at the moment. Boston running with the 12th fastest pace over the last 5, and Golden State 11th. So you have kind of a pretty fast paced game here as well. Boston has not been playing the greatest of defenses. They let Washington hang around last game, a game that I was really worried about as they were a double-digit home favorite. I'm definitely not worrying about the spreads anymore. A lot of these teams are playing. Sometimes it's going to happen; it's inevitable. But you can't base your whole decision off of spreads or what you think is going to happen in a game. Obviously, that's what you want to do. You want to plan out the game, but you just kind of have to throw that stuff out sometimes. And if it happens, it happens. Just kind of roll with the punches again. And then you have your late night hammer with the Kings at the Lakers. Obviously, the Kings might not have very much of a to play here. No De'Aaron Fox. They're missing Marvin Bagley still. Lakers minus 9 here at home. Sacramento is actually ranked 30th. They're dead last in terms of pace over the last 5 games. They have not been playing good. Obviously, Bogdan has been, he put up over 50 last game. It was an amazing spot. I don't think it's as great of a spot tonight, but of course, he'll probably be in play, but his price jumped. Lakers 20th in terms of pace. So, my main games right now on this slate, looking at it, are, of course, the Pacers and the Rockets. Excuse me. The Jazz and the Grizzlies, Wizards and the T-Wolves. So Wizards, T-Wolves probably ranked number 1. We know both of these teams are not the greatest of defensive teams. Obviously, it's a lot of smash spots in that game with KAT. Andrew Wiggins' price is up, but he's been balling out. Brad Beal, even IT3. We know T-Wolves don't guard the point guard spot well. So that game has a lot of grouping that I can literally probably make 5 to 6 lineups on with just the grouping in that game. Jazz and the Grizz, I think, is very interesting again with the major pace-up spot here. Utah's been running a little bit more pace, so I see this game being a little bit of a faster pace than we expect. This game has a lot of good stuff to go in it too. Donovan Mitchell, he's been playing really well. We know the point guard spot for the Grizz. You got Mike Conley returning home here for a little bit of a revenge match, so that's interesting. Again, you got some really good spots in there. So that one's a good one. And then finally, like I said, Pistons and Hornets, I kind of like this one. Obviously, I think this is a really good game. We know Charlotte's a team that we've been targeting quite a bit lately. So are the Pistons. So they're still missing some pieces, and that game looks really good as well. So those are the games that I'm really eyeing at the moment. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the positions, talk about each position here. So at the point guard spot, of course, you have LeBron James at 10-8. Sacramento's allowing the third most fantasy points to the point guard spot over the last 5 games. 27.2% usage in his last 5. They do get AD back this game, but this is just a total smash spot for him and AD. Obviously, you got to have a lineup with them two guys. I don't mind playing both of them together because I think they're both going to smash in this game. I could obviously easily see a triple-double for LeBron, and AD should just smash down low against this Kings team that really doesn't have anybody on the interior. They're playing, Dwayne Dedmon, Rashawn Holmes, Belicia. They don't have anybody down low. They definitely don't have anybody down low that can match up with Anthony Davis. Obviously, Anthony Davis is probable. He has the rib issue. He has the shoulder issue. If he's playing, I don't care what issue he has. I don't care if he takes 30 dumps during the game in the locker room. But obviously his price is 9.6, I think. Yeah, just astute. DraftKings, again, I don't know what is the deal with their – it's funny. I saw somebody make a reference yesterday where there was a tweet about the revenue that is being made off of the sports books that DraftKings and FanDuel have at the moment. And it was like massive. So, and somebody made a reference and wrote on that tweet, excuse me, and said, no wonder the pricing's so bad. That easily could be part of it. It could be the fact that they're way more into the sports betting, making revenue off the sports betting than they are the DFS side of it. Because the pricing is terrible. the pricing is really bad. Like, they've made changes to, like, the big names, but a lot of these guys' prices are still just horrible. All right, so LBJ obviously at 10-8, Kimba at 8-2, Golden State allowing the fourth most fantasy points to the point guard spot over the last 5. He's now put up 46, 47, and 50 in his last 3. Right around a 26.2% usage rate, 47 or more in his last 8 of 10. Obviously, he's playing against Golden State, and that, D'Angelo Russell, 130 defensive rating. Golden State as a team is terrible defensive rating. Kimba will be in play. D'Angelo Russell on the flip side at 8K, 36.3% usage in his last 5. Fast-paced game here, over 30 real points in 4 of his last 5. He's going to continue to shoot as long as the Warriors stay in contention a little bit. Here at home, I like it a lot better. Last game, the Warriors went to the Lakers, went to Los Angeles, played in the return of DAR. I played DAR. He quit shooting there in like the second half, into third, going into the fourth. And, of course, it wasn't as much as we wanted. I highly expect DAR to get back on track tonight and back at home, back in Oracle or wherever they're playing now. And I expect him to get back to his, 37 shot attempts. Kimba's a decent defender, but And more so, it'll probably be Marcus Smart. But, Marcus Smart, like I said, I brought it up on the Fantasy Alarm Pod the night before. They're moving Marcus Smart around a lot. They're not just putting him on one person. So we can't just fade anybody just simply because he's going to get Marcus Smart, because D'Angelo Russell has shown that he's pretty much matchup proof. He's going to shoot. He's got near 37% usage. You've got to play him, especially at 8K. Malcolm Brogdon here at 7.6. The guy's price never goes up. Again, last game, he should have put up a 50-pointer. They had OKC at home. I was all over it. He was my roster monster. He put up 34 fantasy points, and he had near 30 in the first half alone. They blew him out, and he played like 2 minutes in the second half, it felt like. So tonight they get the Rockets, who don't play a lot of defense, who will be without Russell Westbrook. Need I remind you, he's resting on the first half of this back-to-back. So Malcolm Brogdon, 38 or more on the road, all road games, pace-up spot here, near 28.5% usage on the road. He leads the team in that regard. I'm going right back to Malcolm Brogdon tonight. Of course, they're still without Jeremy Lamb. Miles Turner's already been ruled out. I don't really see why you don't love Malcolm Brogdon tonight in this pace-up spot against the Rockets here. Rockets are running with, lots and lots of pace. Massive pace-up spot. Love Brogdon here at his price. Ben Simmons at 7-2. OKC, versus the point guard spot. We've been hammering that all season long. Philadelphia has not been playing good defense lately. They've been giving up a lot of points. They're giving up a lot of fantasy points. This one, with Embiid back, this takes a lot of the heat off of Simmons, takes a lot of the, defensive off of him, and allows him to play his game. So 33 or more in his last 3 or 4. It hasn't been great. He hasn't been just extremely balling. But, I like this spot. Like I said, OKC hasn't exactly been that great against the point guard spot. We've been fading that one all season, so not going to stop right now. So Simmons at 7-2 it's kind of cheap. Again, like I said, these prices are bad. Going right back to the Devontae Graham well here at 7K. Put up a dud with his last game. I was really high on him. He didn't do very well. But Dwayne Bacon is probable to play. Thank God. Hopefully he'll go back to his starting role, and Devontae Graham will go back to his original role. And I said this the other day, goddammit, and I'm so angry that I didn't jump off the ship, because it seems like every fucking time a guy off the bench gets a spot start, he fucking blows dick. Like, I don't know what it is. Their total rhythm gets thrown off. I don't know if they get the nerves, they get the feels going because they're getting a start. They haven't started yet, and now they're getting a spot start, so they feel like they got more pressure. Whatever the fuck it is, I hope he goes back to his role, because the guy has been absolutely murdering off the bench. 7K, dud last game, Detroit versus guards. We know that it's not good. It's a good game. Like I said, good flow, I think. 220 on the total. So he's definitely one that I will want to be playing again. 34 more in all but one home games. He's garnering right around 27% usage on the road. Leads the team in that regard. So Devontae Graham, going right back to that well. Hopefully, like I said, Dwayne Bacon plays and he goes back to his bench role. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander at 5.9, 36 or more in his last 3 or 4 at home. Philadelphia has been allowing the 6th most fantasy points to the point guard spot over the last 5. Now, I know he doesn't play point guard full time, but he does play a lot of point guard. So he's a lot of the main ball handler. He's going to get the ball a lot. He sees a high usage rate, near 24% at home. And like I said, it's a totally fine spot here against 76ers, who have not exactly been guarding the guard spot very well, I should say. I don't care about CP3. I think he's dust. I want SGA if I'm going to play an OKC guard here, or Dennis Schroeder at 5.6. Interestingly enough, same thing applies here. 6 most fantasy points by Philadelphia over the last 5 to the point guard spot. Dennis Schroeder actually leads the OKC backcourt in usage at home. He's got near 26% at 25.8, and 4 of his 7 games at home have went for 35 or more fantasy points. So Dennis Schroeder at 5.6, I think, is really nice value. Jeff Teague at 5.3. Obviously, this is a game I said that we would want to probably play a lot out of, and of course, it's going to be a high-paced game. You have Washington here allowing the 4th most fantasy points to the point guard spot. We know that IT3 can't exactly guard anybody. So Jeff Teague, if he plays again at 5'3", he played 23 minutes last game, 33.5 fantasy points. Everybody got him at 4.6K, and he smashed that value. At 5.3, I think he's still too cheap in this spot, in this matchup. If he plays, I don't mind firing him back up there. I missed him last time, and that was my fault, but nonetheless, I'm not going to miss him tonight if he plays. Obviously, he's at home. It's a good spot. Washington doesn't play defense. IT3 on the flip side at 5.3. Minnesota versus point guards. We've been fading that one all year, too. We're not going to stop again. Minnesota versus point guards, 30 minutes in his last game, 30.3. He did play Boston. It was his return to the Garden, and, of course, he had a little bit of a revenge narrative going there. So, I don't mind him, of course, in the stacks. Again, he's got 30-point plus upside, so at 5.3, I'm totally fine with that price in those game stacks. And, of course, I don't mind playing him in those groupings. One that I wanted to mention, Carson Edwards for Boston. With Gordon Hayward out, looks like they're trying more rotations. He played 18 minutes last game, put up 30 fantasy points. So if he's going to continue to get minutes off the bench like that, Marcus Smart's playing over 30. They're having to swap in and out guys and more in the rotation with Gordon Hayward out. Carson Edwards is a punt play you can look at. Like I said, he's got nice upside if he's hitting his shots. So, yep. Shooting guard, Harden at 12.3. Obviously, with no Russ, I don't really have to say anymore. He's high priced, but can you fade the guy? Can you really fade the guy without Russell Westbrook on the floor? He's going to have near 45% usage. It's not the greatest matchup with the Pacers, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. So if you can fit Harden, do it by all means. Brad Beal at 8.5K. Why is this guy not over 10K yet? Why is Brad Beal not over 10K? He's got 32.3% usage on the season. He just put up almost 63 fantasy points in his last game. And, he's put up 38 or more in his last 4. I don't know. I'm just dumbfounded by these prices sometimes. It's just like 8.5K in one of the best spots on the slate. Again, just terrible pricing on Bill. Below him, of course, Andrew Wiggins on the flip side. Of course, if you're going to be playing that game, you got to have some Wiggins. I know he's 8.3K, but the guy's just been absolutely murdering Washington, allowing the 10th most fantasy points to the small forward spot. He's right around 30% usage over his last 5 at 29.5, over 52 fantasy points in his last 3 or 4, over 42 fantasy points in his last 5. The guy's just been really good. Really, really good lately. Don't think you can fade him. Nice spot here for Donovan Mitchell at 7.8. Massive pace-up spot in Memphis, over 42 in his last 4 or 5. Memphis allowing the 4th most fantasy points over the last 5 games to the shooting guard spot. And he's nearing 33% usage on the road at 32.6. So definitely like Donovan Mitchell in that spot. Like I said, I like that game a little bit. I think it's going to be really good. Bogdan here at 6.7. again, I talked about this the last pod whenever he put up 50-something fantasy points. He gets near a 7% usage bump without De'Aaron Fox on the floor. We saw that. It happened. It's going to continue. He's now put up 53.3, 38, and 34.5 in his last three. Played 29 or more minutes in his last three as well. It is the Lakers. It's not exactly a pace-up spot. Lakers are a decent-sized favorite. But, I mean, the guy's going to get the usage. So he's there at 6.7. He's a little bit more priced than I want, but nonetheless. Marcus Smart at 5'9", over 30 fantasy points in his last three. Should have nice flow in this game. And, of course, Golden State is not very good on defense. So Marcus Smart, I believe, is a decent look. Let's see here. Dylan Brooks at 5'1", over 31 fantasy points in his last two. If you're going to be playing that Memphis game against the Jazz, you obviously need to have him in some of those groupings. Josh Okogie at 4.7, 28 minutes, 23 fantasy points in his last game with Teague. Depending on the Teague minutes, I mean, is he going to continue to start? Is he going to continue to see nice minutes? He's played 23, 38, and 29.8. No, actually, that's the fantasy. Sorry. 23, 38, 29.8 fantasy points in his last three or four. So he's doing decent. At 4.7, not exactly the price we want. I think his price hasn't went back down with Teague back in, so it's not a lovely price. Terrence Ross at 4K, played 22 minutes or more in his last three or four. He's back to his regular role, put up 23 fantasy points last game against who was it? I don't know. I forgot who they played last game. But he gets the Spurs here at home, and he usually tends to shoot better at home. I do like this spot here with him off the bench against the Spurs. So at 4K, I think he's a nice tournament play. Marco Goodrich at 3.7, again for the Memphis. If you want to get him in those GPP groupings, I'm totally fine with it. 25 and 27.8 in his last two of three. He's playing decent minutes. He's playing a little over 20 a game, it seems like. And when he's hitting his shots, he can really put up some points. So he's cheap. And, of course, like GPP play, totally. But if you want to look that way, I'm totally fine with it. Small forward, once again, it's a small list. They just so much overlap on DraftKings, and there's really nobody in the small forward list. It's terrible. Jaylen Brown at 7.5, 35, 45, 45 in his last three games, playing Golden State. Nice flow. He should be in play. One that I really like here is TJ Warren at 6K. Over 30 minutes in his last six games, 37.3 fantasy points in his last game. Houston, is allowing the number one fantasy points or the most fantasy points to the small forward spot. Again, we know that Indiana is without a few guys, so TJ Warren is going to continue to get that usage, and I'm totally fine with him at 6K. Miles Bridges, again, at 5.5, been kind of on him here lately. He's been playing a lot better at home. He's now put up 28 or more in his last three or four. He's now put up 28 or more in his last three at home. And he gets Detroit here, who doesn't exactly play a lot of defense. So, Bridges I'm totally fine with as well. Moving on to the power forward. Yeah, like I said, it's a really small forward list, and I don't really know what to tell you. That's just kind of how it goes. Anthony Davis at 9.6, kind of already talked about the total smash spot against Sacramento. We know that Sacramento does not have a lot of depth at the interior. And, yeah, I mean, this price is just stupid. So let's see here. Blake Griffin at 7.1. Charlotte allowing the most fantasy points to the power forward spot over the last five. He played 24 minutes last game, put up almost 36 fantasy points, and he had near 30% usage. He's back. All right. The days of Drummond are over. Griffin is going to be a high usage guy. He averaged right around 25 to 26% last year, all season. He wants the ball. He loves the ball. And this is a lovely matchup. Hopefully he gets a little bit of a minutes bump here. If he sees 25 or more minutes against Charlotte at 7-1, I'm totally fine. Aaron Gordon at 6.3, 51 fantasy points last game versus Philadelphia. Right around 22% usage in his last five. Is he going to do that again? It was probably a ceiling game for him. And, it was against Philly, so nobody probably played him. He does have that upside. Excuse me. My daughter's got me sick, kind of, so I'm still dealing with a little bit of a cough. Nonetheless, Aaron Gordon at 6.3, like I said, I'm totally fine with him. Harrison Barnes at 5.7, 31 or more in his last 3 on the road, well over 30 minutes. We know that. He's a staple in that Kings lineup. And, he's playing against Lakers. So I'm totally fine with Harrison Barnes. Jaren Jackson Jr. continues to stay underpriced. He's $5.5K tonight at home, and he's put up 31, 44, and 31 in his last 3 games. So 29 or more minutes in his last 4. Jaren Jackson Jr. not again, okay? Bertans at 4.3, 26-plus minutes in his last 3, 29, 22 in his last 2 of 3, so he's putting up decent fantasy points. That game is, like I said, one game that you're going to want to have a lot of groupings in, so totally fine with throwing Bertans in there, especially in tournaments. Going to the center spot, Karl Anthony Towns, total smash spot against Washington here. He's allowing the 5th most fantasy points over the last 5 to the center spot. They've been allowing big games to all centers all year, and he's put up 47 or more in his last 5. Obviously, you've got to have some Karl Anthony Towns. We get a rested up Embiid here at 9.2. Not a great spot, but nonetheless, it is OKC. I don't really care about Steven Adams. 42, 56, 67 in his road games so far this season. So, Embiid, sure. Sabonis, no Turner, and no Capella on the other side. So, Houston is without Capella. Sabonis should absolutely smash here. 47 or more in his last 6 of 7. He's been just cruising without Miles Turner. They blew out OKC last game at home, and he still put up like 48 fantasy points. So, totally fine with Sabonis. He should eat the glass. Vucevic at 7.9 here. He's been playing really well lately. 45, 52, and 60 fantasy points in his last 3 at home. 26% usage at home. And he gets who are they playing? San Antonio, that's right. He gets San Antonio at home here in a decent spot. I'm totally fine with Vuce under 8K. I think it's a very, very fine price. Rashawn Holmes again at 5'8". They're going to have to play somebody down there with AD. I think he gets over 30 minutes. He's had over 30 minutes in his last 4, 25, 33, 34 fantasy points. Sorry, 25, 33, 34 in his last 3 or 4. Again, they're going to need his size down low. Cody Zeller is interesting at 5'4" in that game. Detroit allowing the 9th most fantasy points to the center spot over the last 5. He's played 28, 27, and 34 minutes in his last 3. They're going to have to play him down low against Drummond. 24, 35.3, and 32.5 fantasy points in his last 3. So Cody Zeller is an interesting play down there as well. Let's see here. Dwight Howard at 5'2", 20 minutes in his last 2 games. He's put up 26 and 30 fantasy points. Again, the Kings are not very good against the center spot. So you can just keep, JaVale McGee had a huge game last game, but AD's back now, so he'll probably go back to his regular 18-minute role. And then Dwight off the bench. So Dwight off the bench I really like. Enes Kanter is probably your lowest price, stupid price of the day here at 4.9. Played 25 minutes last game and put up 30 fantasy points. Now he gets a Golden State team who's been terrible against centers lately. Clint Capella put up 51. Steven Adams put up 33. JaVale McGee who was it? Yeah, it was JaVale McGee just put up 50-something. Enes Kanter will probably be massive chalk, as he should be. But if he's at the 25-plus minute mark right now, returning, I don't see how you can't play him at 4.9. That's just a silly price. So that wraps up this edition of the Quick Bricks NBA DFS podcast. It's been 28 minutes. Hope you guys enjoy your Friday. Kick off your weekend real good. It's a nice slate. Of course, we'll chat some basketball later.